ಸಹಯೋಗದಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಗುರುಗಳಾದಂಥ ಪದ್ಮವಿಭೂಷಣ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ BKS ಅಯ್ಯಂಗಾರ್ ಅವರ ಜನ್ಮ ಶತಾಬ್ದಿಯ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಗಳನ್ನು ಹಮ್ಮಿಕೊಂಡಿದ್ವಿ. ಮಂಗಳನಾಥಾನಂದರು, ವೀರೇಶಾನಂದರು ಅತ್ಯದ್ಭುತವಾಗಿ ನಮಗೆ ಅನೇಕ ವಿಚಾರಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಜ್ಞಾನದ ವಿಸ್ತಾರವನ್ನು ಹೆಚ್ಚಿಸಿದ್ರು. ಇವತ್ತು ಆ ದತ್ತಿ ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸದ ಕೊನೆಯ ದಿವಸ. ಇವತ್ತಿನ ವಿಶೇಷ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಗುರುಗಳಾದಂಥ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ BKS ಅಯ್ಯಂಗಾರ್ ಅವರ ಮಗ ಪ್ರಶಾಂತ್ ಅಯ್ಯಂಗಾರ್ ಅವರು ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆಗಿರೋದು, ಇವತ್ತು ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಕೊಡುವುದಕ್ಕೆ ಒಪ್ಕೊಂಡಿರೋದು ನಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಬಹುದೊಡ್ಡ ಅದೃಷ್ಟ ಅಂತ ನಾನಾದರೂ ತಿಳಿದಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ಸನ್ಮಾನ್ಯರು ನಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ಮೇಷ್ಟ್ರು. ಅವರ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಪ್ರಾಣಾಯಾಮ ತರಗತಿಗಳನ್ನು, ಆಸನಗಳನ್ನು ಅಭ್ಯಾಸ ಮಾಡುವಂಥ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಬೇರೊಂದು ವೇದಾಂತದ ಲೋಕಕ್ಕೆ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೊರಟೋಗ್ತಿದ್ರು. ವೇದಾಂತ ಶಾಸ್ತ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಪರಿಣತರು, ನಿಷ್ಣಾತರು, ತತ್ವಶಾಸ್ತ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಸಾಧನೆಯನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿರತಕ್ಕಂಥವರು. ಎಲ್ಲಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗಿ ಅವರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಾನು ನಿಮಗೆ ಪರಿಚಯ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಗುರೂಜಿ ಬೆಳ್ಳೂರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಬಹುದೊಡ್ಡ ವಿಸ್ತಾರವಾದಂಥ ಒಂದು ಜಾಗವನ್ನು ತಗೊಂಡು ಆ ಬೆಳ್ಳೂರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಹುಟ್ಟತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಹಳ್ಳಿಯ ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ಮತ್ತು ಹಳ್ಳಿಯ ಜನಗಳಿಗೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿ ನಾನು ಕಷ್ಟಪಟ್ಟಷ್ಟು ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗಕೂಡ್ದು ಅಂಥೇಳಿ ವಿಸ್ತಾರವಾದಂಥ 30 ಹಾಸಿಗೆಗಳ ಒಂದು ಆಸ್ಪತ್ರೆ, ಹೈಸ್ಕೂಲು, ಕಾಲೇಜುಗಳನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ನಿರ್ಮಾಣ ಮಾಡಿ, ಬಹುದೊಡ್ಡ ಯೋಗಶಾಲೆಯನ್ನು ನಿರ್ಮಾಣ ಮಾಡಿ, ಅದನ್ನು ಅಲ್ಲಿಯ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಕಲೀಲಿ, ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದವರೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಅದು ಉಪಯೋಗವಾಗಲಿ, ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿ ನನ್ನ ಬೆಳ್ಳೂರಿನ ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ಅದು ಉಪಯೋಗವಾಗಲಿ ಅಂಥೇಳಿ ಅದನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟರು. ಅದರ ಧರ್ಮದರ್ಶಿಗಳಾಗಿ ಇವತ್ತು ಕಾರ್ಯನಿರ್ವಹಿಸ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥವರು ನಮ್ಮ ಗುರುಗಳಾದಂಥ ಪ್ರಶಾಂತ್ ಅಯ್ಯಂಗಾರ್ ಅವರು. ಆ ಯೋಗ ಶಾಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುವ ಸೆಪ್ಟೆಂಬರ್ 10ರಿಂದ 15 ತನಕ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ತಗೊಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಬರಬೇಕು. ಮತ್ತು ನವೆಂಬರ್ 10, 11 ಮುರಳಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ತಗೊಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಬೆಳ್ಳೂರಿನ ಯೋಗ ಶಾಲೆಯನ್ನು ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ನೋಡಬೇಕು. ಅತ್ಯದ್ಭುತವಾದಂಥ ಯೋಗ ಶಾಲೆ ಅದು. ಡಿಸೆಂಬರ್ 14ರಂದು ಗುರೂಜಿಯವರ ಹುಟ್ಟದ ಹಬ್ಬ. ಆ ಪ್ರಯುಕ್ತ ಡಿಸೆಂಬರ್ 17ನೇ ತಾರೀಕು ಅವರ ಜನ್ಮ ಶತಾಬ್ದಿ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ವೈಭವಪೂರ್ಣವಾಗಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಬೆಳ್ಳೂರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಎಲ್ಲ ಯೋಗ ಬಂಧುಗಳ ಅಪೇಕ್ಷೆ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ನೂ ಒಂದು ವಿಶೇಷ ಅಂತಂದರೆ 18 ಮತ್ತು 19 ಪ್ರಶಾಂತ್ ಜಿ ಅವರು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ತಗೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಆ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ಗಳಿಗೂ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಬರಬೇಕು ಅಂಥೇಳಿ ನಾನು ನಿಮ್ಮನ್ನು ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ. ಮತ್ತು ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ದೂರದ ಪುಣೆಯಿಂದ ಇಲ್ಲಿಯವರೆಗೂ ಬಂದು ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಇದ್ದು, ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಹೀಗೆ ಒಂದು ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ಕೊಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಒಪ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಆಭಾರಿಗಳು. ಸನ್ಮಾನ್ಯರನ್ನು ದತ್ತಿ ಪರವಾಗಿಯೂ, ಗೋಖಲೆ ಸಾರ್ವಜನಿಕ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ಪರವಾಗಿಯೂ, ನಾನು ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಪರವಾಗಿಯೂ ಹೃದಯಪೂರ್ವಕವಾಗಿ ಸ್ವಾಗತಿಸ್ತೇನೆ. ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಅವರ ಶಿಷ್ಯರು. ಅವರಿಗೆ ಭಕ್ತಿಪೂರ್ವಕವಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಒಂದು ಕಿರು ಕೊಡುಗೆಯನ್ನು, ಉಡುಗೊರೆಯನ್ನು ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ. ಅದನ್ನು ಸ್ವೀಕರಿಸಬೇಕು ಅಂಥೇಳಿ ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಅವರನ್ನು ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ. ಪ್ರಶಾಂತ್ ಜಿ ಅವರನ್ನ ಮುಂದಿನ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ನಡೆಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ.
Namaskara. I would like to solicit apologies from you because I will be talking in English, not in Kannada. I am here to talk about Yogacharya B.K. Iyengar. I was just now introduced as son of him, but I would not be addressing here as his son merely. Because if I just take that perspective of describing him as my father, it won't be justifying. The whole world has known him as a great master, world-renowned personality, and of course he got accolades from all over the world as Yogacharya, as a greatest yoga teacher, yoga master. And he almost became a celebrity in his lifetime. But the most important thing is that he did yoga. So I will be looking at him not merely as a son, but as even a student of yoga, myself as a student of yoga, seeker of yoga. From that perspective also, I will have to look at him. So, as his student and as student of yoga, then perhaps I will be able to justify. Guruji can be compared to the sun, the celestial body in the heavens. And all of us easily claim that we all know the sun. We all have seen the sun, we are seeing the sun, and we know the sun. So Guruji had such a dazzling personality that the whole world during his time could see him, could know about him. And that's how he became world renowned. But just as there is a shortcoming in claiming that all of us know the sun, because we have seen the sun, and we see the sun every day, there are so many aspects about the sun which we as commoners don't cognize. We have no clue about all those things. It's only a celestial body in the heavens, in the skies. We see that it rises every day and sets every day for us. And even if we continue to watch him throughout our life, every day of the life, we are not going to comprehend certain aspects about the sun by merely having a naked eye vision of the sun. So the most of the world had a kind of naked eye vision about Guruji, and with that they got some perception about him. But then, as I said, with reference to sun, we as commoners have no clue about the sun as much as what an astrophysicist can tell us about, astronomers can tell us about the sun. We have no idea about it. But they will tell how the sun is a marvelous body which has been there for last 4,500 million years, burning and blazing forth. What keeps it burning for incessant period of 4,500 million years and yet another 6,000 million years to go? So if we come to know something about that from an astronomer or astrophysicist, we are wonderstruck as to what the sun is. It is not as just as it appears to us, as a luminous body. It's an awesome body. Sun is an awesome body, having a peripheral temperature of 6,500 kelvins. The corona having some temperature of some hundreds of thousands of degrees, and the core of the sun having temperatures of the order of some tens of millions of degrees. By watching the sun every day, can we understand this? Can we realize this? So, if we solicit some information from astrophysicists, astronomers, we can get some awe-inspiring information about the sun. But the sun is not just that. It's not just such an awesome body having those temperatures and those kind of nuclear reactions taking place every second of the day, bursting some millions of hydrogen bombs every moment of the day. That is not all the sun is. The seers of the lower, for example, the well-known seer Vishwamitra. What was the sun for Vishwamitra? It inspired him to reveal a hymn which today we call as Gayatri, Savitri Mantra. So the sun became locus for what can be called as, or what has been called by the tradition from the lore as Suryopasana. No astrophysicist or astronomer will ever know about it, as to what the sun is. What is at the core of the sun, which is really governing the sun, the Suryantaryami. How come the sun is such a glorious body? What makes it so glorious? So the wisdom of the lore had a concept called tripartite constitution. So they looked at the body such as of the sun with the three perspectives called Adibhautika, Adidaivika, Adhyatmik. The astronomers and astrophysicists will just stop at its Bhautika Swarupa. Not even Adibhautika, Bhautika Swarupa. And then with that we get the information which are really awe-inspiring. Open out any encyclopedia about the sun or a book on astrophysics, astronomy, and then if the sun is being described, it is really, really awe-inspiring. But that is not all. The sun is much more than that. So the point here is that about Guruji, the whole world got dazzled by what he did in the world. And his generation of students today who are there, who claim that they were students of Guruji, were also enamored, and they were really dazzled by his abilities, by what he did in the world, what he did for the world. And that is how most of the students of my generation joined him. We wanted to learn from him. And of course he got all rewards for what he did in the world. He got all accolades, recognitions. But yoga is not what he did in the world. Yoga was not what he showed, performed, displayed, make his students see. Because yoga is something that happens inside. So, the perspective that I am suggesting here that should be taken note of is, what did he do inside him, within him, in his yoga? None of us could have cited that. None of us could have seen that. It is not something for naked eye perception that we can see. Because yoga is done something within. So if he is so renowned, got renowned in the world, it is not because of what he did within, but what he did without. It took me for a long time to know what really he must be doing inside. When I became student of yoga, had I remained merely as a follower of B.K.S. Iyengar, I would have been under a gravity. And I would not have revealed. Because that is a tremendous gravity. So to the Iyengar clan, I would like to put a question also here. Are you follower, or were you followers, or you want to be followers? Do you want to be wanted to be students of B.K.S. Iyengar? These are enormous gravities, and if these gravities are there, then we will be blindfolded for what he did within him. We must be students of yoga. So when I became student of yoga, then I started getting inferences as to what he might be doing. But unfortunate for Guruji, otherwise I've said very recently, the whole world claims, we were very, 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 very fortunate to have B.K.S. Iyengar as our Guru. B.K.S. Iyengar as our teacher. B.K.S. Iyengar as our mentor. I said, did you ever put a question, was he fortunate to have you? Yeah, we can all claim we were very, very fortunate. We are fortunate indeed. We were fortunate indeed. But what about the other side of it? Was he really fortunate to have someone like you and me? We never bothered about it. I want to be fortunate. I am fortunate. So that's what we looked for. So that's why many of his so-called students are his followers, are his students. despite the fact that the Guruji often revealed which went unnoticed. He often said, because he was in such an era where yoga had to be propagated. That was a time when yoga was unknown. And if it was known, again it was wrongly known, that yoga is for ascetics, yoga is after opting to go to Himalayas. For misconceptions were there that yoga is not for one and all. Yoga is for isolated few. You must renounce, walk onto the path of Himalayas, isolations, and then take up yoga. So yoga was unknown in a great way in those days. Now today, we get a feeling that yoga is well-known subject. But the fact of the matter is yoga is misknown today. So enormously misknown. Because yoga has been considered today as something for physical well-being, mental well-being, worldly well-being, well-being here and now. So this is how yoga has been catered in our world. We are perhaps in the most unsuitable world to really inquire into essential yoga. You must be odd one out to think about what yoga is. Otherwise the conditions are such, the gravities are such, that this is not the suitable time for us to know about yoga. So because that was his era that he was in, he had 3 roles to play in the realm of yoga. So propagation was one, and he was one without a second for that role. Even today, no one is able to take up that role the way he propagated yoga. He propagated yoga by presenting yoga to the people, to the common man, and he propagated yoga. That was in one role. The second role that he played was, he said, when I perform or make presentations, I am a propagator of yoga. As a propagator, I am a performing artist. But when I teach, I am a scientist. Because the teaching in his era was, people were coming to him with physical maladies. They wanted solutions for their problems. So for the solutions for the problems, he devised a scientific way, and he said, I am a scientist when I teach. So people got solutions to their problems. Somebody came with slip disc, or somebody came with hip joint problem, or some heart problem, or liver, stomach, colon, bladder problem. They got solutions in no time. Couple of weeks and couple of months, they could feel, yes, this has worked. Clinically, it has worked. So he had a scientific approach to convince people how it will work. But then that was not only the role he played in life. The third role he played, he said often, when I practice, when I do yoga abhyasa, because practice is not a right word in English. When I do yoga abhyasa, I am a philosopher. Because yoga means to be going in within oneself, and to be going within oneself, what we have within ourselves is completely a matter suitable for philosophy. So yoga is basically philosophy when it is done as yoga abhyasa. Let me clarify here, because just now I said I don't endorse the word practice which comes to yoga abhyas in English. Practice is insufficient word, improper word, misleading word, because practice means to repeat and repeat and repeat. What do you practice? Where you are not perfect, you will practice. By practice, you will get the perfection. That's why they say practice makes the man perfect. So if you are perfection seeker, somewhere perfection is to be sought after, you need to practice. To refine your action, refine your activity and action, you require practice. If you do not have the practice, you won't be refining your act, refining your activity, refining your action. So the word practice has come for abhyasa. When they render Yoga Sutras into English, abhyasa vairagya abhyam tannirodha, abhyasa rendered as practice. This is highly misleading. So when he did yoga abhyasa, it was constant exploration. The self-inquiry is constant exploration. If you have looked yourself in the mirror this morning, and if you look again tomorrow morning, you will say, I have not changed. Is that right? If you have looked in the mirror this morning, tomorrow you look again, day after you, tomorrow you will say, I am not changing, I am the same perhaps. But is that the fact? We are changing every moment. And therefore we are going from one stage to another biological stage in our life. It's not that we have the changes of overnight on a day. So we are constantly changing. Now the thing is, instrument on which you have to practice. Suppose if it is yoga, which is asana pranayam, then you will have to practice every day on your body, every day on your mind, every day on your breath. Now these are ever-changing entities. So the practice doesn't come in there. Why? Suppose I want to perfect in playing an instrument like veena. I practice on veena every day. I practice on violin, mridangam. I can practice every day and then get the perfection. But suppose when I decide to practice on instruments such as veena or violin, and the violin every day changes the shape and form, will I be able to practice on it? What will I practice? How will I practice? Now today you are all working on your laptops, computers, laptops. Suppose the keyboard develops a human mind and goes on changing its position every day, every now and then, any time of the day. How are you going to perfect the keyboard? You do not know. Today the A is here, in next 2 minutes or 5 minutes it might be somewhere else. If that is going to happen to the keyboard, like our human mind, totally unpredictable, what are you going to practice? Where are you going to practice? So I just suggest the software engineers opt for a keyboard which has its own mind. Sometimes it becomes larger, sometimes it becomes smaller, sometimes it changes the positions. How are you going to perfect the keyboard? The fact of the matter here, the body is like that. Mind is like that. If body is instrument and mind is instrument for you to practice yoga, you cannot be practicing on it because it is unpredictable. It will be changing every now and then. So the instrument is changing in shape, form, position, condition. If Veena says, today I am lazy, don't touch me, how am I going to practice? Suppose it develops a human mind. How will you ever practice? Thank God for our classification, we consider Veena as an inert instrument. It doesn't have its own mind. Therefore, we can apply our mind on it. But suppose it has its own mind, and tomorrow Veena becomes this small, and tomorrow it becomes this large. How will I ever wield it and play on it? Practice is not the suitable word in English for yoga abhyas. It is ever exploring. What is the mind now? What is the shape of the mind? What is the shape of the body? What are the dispositions of the body? What are the dispositions of the breath and mind? It's ever changing, ever changing, ever changing. It's a fleeting flux. If you are students of metaphysics, you will come to know that matter is fleeting flux. Body is matter, mind is matter, breath is matter. There is no chance of practicing and perfecting it. But it seems to us, it's a visual reality for us, that somebody practices regularly and perfects the asanas, somebody practices pranayama and perfects pranayama. It is not the case. Every day it's an exploration. Let me know, how is my Veena today? What is the size of the Veena today? How many frets are there for Veena today? Because the frets might change today and tomorrow. This doesn't happen to an instrument like Veena. The frets don't change. The strings don't change. The size doesn't change. Its disposition doesn't change. Like we can say, today I am not so well indisposed, I won't do it. I am well disposed, today I will do it. Nobody wants you to do it, but you will say, I want to do it. Everyone wants you to do it, but you will say, I will not do it. So when he did yoga, it was exploration. It was every time a revelation, every time an exploration. It is not a field where somebody should practice. That is why there is more suitable Sanskrit and vernacular word called yoga abhyasa. Abhyasa, a technical word here, which means effort to be steady the mind. Tatra sthito yatnaha abhyasaha. When you try to steady your mind, that is called abhyasa. Now you will have different states of mind. Every day if you make an effort to steady the mind, it will be every time different effort. Today the mind is lazy, I want to make it steady. Today the mind is mercurial, I want to make it steady. Today the mind is monkey mind, I want to make it steady. Today mind is scorpion mind, I want to make it steady. Today my mind is snake mind or the cobra mind, I want to make it steady. So effort to be steady the mind, be calm the mind is called abhyasa. This is not, there is no regimentation for it. So when he did yoga, he was totally a different person. It was a different endeavor. Then there are mind-boggling dynamics of asanas, because we have these kind of unsteady instruments on which yoga is constituted. Unpredictable body, unpredictable mind, unpredictable psyche, unpredictable consciousness. And then they are put in an assembly for the mind to become steady. That's really a marvelous scheme. So what he did within himself, for which he never got any accolade in the world. Nobody realized that. Nobody could imagine that. What he did within himself. Because yoga is to be doing something within oneself. And that's called Adhyatmic realm. What is your pronoun I? If I ask you, who are you? Or somebody asks me, ask the questions to me, I say, I am Prashanth Iyengar. I refer to body, which took birth at a point in time, which is going to go away at a point in time. I refer to this as Prashanth Iyengar. I refer to my body. But when yoga is done, it is done in the I, not the pronoun I, but the I in very consciousness. This pronoun I has delimitations: caste, class, creed, gender, status, age, conditions, stature, status. All these delimitations are here. Suppose all these delimitations are removed from your pronoun I, you almost cease to exist. Can you imagine yourself without caste, class, creed, gender, status, age? You can't imagine. But are you that? You are in fact not that. So what is that yogic state where what happens to the I, principle, entity? Like when you are fast asleep, in a dreamless sleep. In dreamless sleep, you are not a man, you are not a woman. You don't have name, you don't have form. Nama Rupa is not there. Upadhis are not there. You don't have caste, class, creed, gender, stature, etc., etc. Do you cease to exist in sleep? You are there. But that you do not have any description, you do not have any attributes. In a state of dreamless sleep, you exist. But you are without Nama Rupa. So that entity is such. Essentially, it doesn't have all that. Now, these are all visual, they are what you call as virtual realities. I am man, I am woman, I am young, I am old. This is my caste, this is my creed, this is my race, this is my ancestry, this is my family. These are all delimitations, these are all virtual realities. And today we are so much clinging on to it for our identity that we cannot imagine ourselves without it. Now in yoga, when yoga is being negotiated or executed, you are not what you think of you. You don't have Nama Rupa. You don't have Upadhis, delimitations. You have no age. You have no gender. So that's a state of consciousness. Even in state of dream, you don't have these delimitations. You get the dream, but you are not delimited person by way of all those factors. Caste, class, creed, gender, status, stature, etc., 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 age, etc. Yet we get the dream. Today we are all in some faith. Some faith is there, Hinduism, Christianism, thisism, thatism, Judaism. When someone is fast asleep, are you that? Yet you are there. So in yogic state, in yoga abhyasa, he every time had such a journey towards the nameless. And therefore, he generally called it's a philosophical life for me. So when I practice, he said, I am a philosopher. He was a philosopher when he practiced. Because that was in the realm of the I as an entity, which is not a virtual reality, a reflection. Our I is a reflection, and our reflection has all these attributes. And though more so, it is a contorted mirror. The life is a contorted mirror, and we get the reflection in such a mirror, and that's why we say, I am so and so. But in yogic state, all those things are set aside, and then you have the pure state of consciousness, which doesn't have all that. So he often told his students that he would like his students and come and learn yoga, but then that form was so dazzling that his students picked up the packages to be becoming teachers and then teaching yoga to propagate and do that humane service of serving humanity, giving them some health, solutions for the health, etc. And then all his students picked up that aspect. Because to be learning a subject like yoga, as is our tradition, it's a Gurukul system. Then you would be knowing through the Guru as to what is yoga. But that was his misfortune, that he did not get such students. They came for a couple of days and couple of weeks and couple of months. They perhaps came couple of weeks every year for 30, 40 years and then claimed that I am a 40-year-long student. But if you try to ask them for statistics, how many hours did you put up with him? They claimed 40 years, but did not even sum up to 40 hours. The point is, what he did within him was a great thing. So what he got after his life was based on what he did within himself, not what he did for the world. The Karma Devatas would be more concerned about what he did within himself than what he did in the world. What he did in the world was very limited. Because how far? Suppose somebody is a global personality. What is the realm of operation, tell me? The globe at the most. What is the dimension of the globe? But once you are within, you have universe inside. What is the scale of universe? And what is the scale of world? So what he did in the world was in a way paltry bit. What he did within himself was on astronomical scale, on universal scale. And that's why our philosophy says what we have within is universe. Miniature universe. That is why our identities won't stay. We all have our identity. Suppose we are caught in a mob of say 1 million or 2 million people. What happens to our identity? We are within a stampede-like condition. That's all. Nobody bothers who is next to you. Nobody bothers who is behind you. If it's such a mob of some millions of people, where is your identity? If you are in your house, if you are in your locality, people will recognize, yes, he's so and so. But when you are out in the mass, millions and millions of people, crowd, then your identity is not even your consideration. Why the rest will consider you, your entity, your status? So when one goes in through the Adhyatmic sadhana, it is universe. When it is universe, you are insignificant. You are insignificant worldly, in a worldly perspective, but you are most significant in one sense, because you are coming closer to your core consciousness. The glorious principles within. Ascharyavat pasyati yenam. Bhagavad Gita 2nd chapter. See that passage. Ascharyavat pasyati. Ascharyavat shrunoti. So for you people to have little understanding of it, the dynamics of yoga, it is not a condition that I am doing Shirshasana. You should not look for a condition such as I am doing Shirshasana. It is to be sought after until you are not able to get onto your head and balance and stay there. You should look for a condition such as Shirshasana is happening on me. Rather than I am doing Shirshasana. Rather than I am doing pranayam, pranayam must happen on me. This is what is important in yoga. It is not what you do, how much you do, how much you can do, what all you do. What happens on you is more important. So any asana must happen on you. Any pranayam must happen on you rather than you doing it. So once you get into the internal realm, you start understanding how enigmatic the concept of pronoun I is. Otherwise we think I know, I am. We are not a problem to ourselves. And therefore we have become problems for others. We deem that I know myself. If you are initiated to the philosophy, then you will be told that there's a major inquiry about who am I. For worldly mundane people, it's no question, no problem. Who am I? Who somebody else is our problem. Who am I is not a problem. That is why in Adhyatma you are initiated into such an inquiry where this becomes of paramount importance. Who am I? It is really a question worth making an exploration. Then you will realize in the dynamics of yoga that this pronoun I is considered to be pronoun singular first person grammatically. Is that right? Pronoun I is singular noun first person. Now if you try to open out what is this I, let me dissect it. Let me get it under something called microscope. Then this pronoun I has been constituted not on your point of birth, but has come from time without beginning. Whatever you were in your life, last life, and previous lives, they all are constituents of your pronoun I. If suppose I was an elephant in my last life, my pronoun I has an elephant constituent. If I was a dog last life, I have a dog constituent in my life. If in one of the previous lives I was a snake or cobra or dinosaurus, they are constituting my pronoun I. How is the pronoun I constituted? Tell me. Otherwise. So in yoga you realize it is not a singular entity, it's a plural entity. I is constitution of we. I is constituted by we. This is the metaphysical reality. So, being student of yoga, you will be also getting initiated into the metaphysical realities. Then it also doesn't remain first person. That's why in yoga psychology, we have called what is called as Sakshi Bhava. Sakshi Bhava. Who is being witnessed? You are being witnessed. I is being witnessed. That means you objectify your subjective entity. Unless you objectify your subjective entity, you can't be a witnessing entity. You can't witness it. It doesn't become witnessed. So in core aspects of yoga, conditions such as witnessed, conditions such as witnesser, witnessing are so prominent, so important. And therefore it is not a singular entity, it is not a subjective entity. Because we objectify in yoga. In Adhyatma, we are supposed to objectify our I to make inquiry into I. If you don't objectify it, how are you going to have an inquiry of I into I? So Guruji developed many precepts based on what he experienced in those highly internalized states. We as commoners can never objectify our brain, and that's why we leave someone else to do that. Someone else, a radiologist, will scan our brain, objectify our brain, carry out encephalographic studies, and then describe our brains. Can we objectify our brain? In yoga, the brain is thought about. Brain is not a thinker. The brain is thought about. These are the dynamics of yoga. And that's why it was an enormous realm when Guruji was practicing. And he turned out so many precepts about it. But the students won't stay around. They wanted something consumeristic. Give us some solutions to sciatica problem, back problem, spine problem, neck problem, liver problem, menstruation problem, women's problem, etc., etc. They wanted solutions. That's why they came to him. Because he also had that, they could get something out of it. But Guruji was really unknown, even as his son, merely as a son, I am totally ignorant about him. Not that his children know him. His children can never know him. His students can never know him. Only students of yoga can know him. Because for his children, after all he was father, and then they saw him as a father, then they saw his somebody's uncle, somebody's brother, somebody's what, and they saw how he interacted. We saw him only in relations. But then when we go inside, we seize all those relationships. You are nobody's nobody and nobody is anybody to you in the internal capsule. Like we have concept of gravity, zero gravity capsule, we have such a capsule within ourselves which through the processes of Adhyatma, process of spiritualism, one gets into such a kind of capsule where you are nobody's nobody. Nobody is anybody to you. So when Guruji was in his core practices, he was nobody's nobody. Nor anybody was anybody to him. But we as children could never imagine that. Or his students, so-called students, could not imagine that. That's why I brought the analogy of state of sleep. There is a beautiful passage which comes in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Atra pita pita bhavati, mata amata bhavati, steno asteno bhavati. We are nothing in state of sleep. Tonight I might be sleeping here and next to me there might be a destitute sleeping next to me. But we are equated, we are levelized in state of sleep. It's a great levelizer. Pita apita bhavati. Here father becomes non-father, mother becomes non-mother. If mother doesn't become non-mother, she will never sleep with a child next to her. How does a mother sleep with a child next to her? Does she remain the mother and go to sleep? She cannot. She will never get it. It is such a zone that you are sunk in such an atmosphere that where you are nobody. You are not a king, you are not a royalty, you are not a destitute, you are not poor, you are not rich, you are not man, you are not woman. You are not even human beings, they are just beings. So he had great revelations in his yoga abhyas. So what he did in yoga should have been more important to the world, whereas he got everything from Padma Bhushan to Padma Vibhushan, Padma Shri, Padma Bhushan, Padma Vibhushan, and then what? Karnataka State Award and Maharashtra State Award and the Global State Awards and various cities, awards from various cities, various universities, various institutions. Not in recognition of what he did within himself in yoga, but what he did for the world. We are so selfish people that if you do something for we people, we will recognize you. You must do something for us, and then we will recognize you. So he had great journeys, insights in his yoga. Maybe the whole world will come, he was a great yogi. This is like, suppose you get also a university degree, where they say, we the chancellors and vice chancellors, they call you a degree. Rather than, suppose you get a testimony, we the Tom, Dick and Harrys of the world, accord you BA, BSc, MA, MSc and doctorate, etc. Is it of any worth for us? Who should recognize our academic caliber is the chancellors and vice chancellors and the faculty of universities. They should recognize, not some Tom, Dick and Harry in a city market. Your Bangalore city market. That's why we have wonderful notion in Marathi. It's called Mandai Vidyapit. Mandai means market. Many of them get high positions in Mandai Vidyapit, like your Bangalore city market. So tomorrow suppose Bangalore city market starts issuing certificates, testimonials. So if the whole world recognizes him as yogi, great yogi, this is like the Mandai Vidyapit giving him the testimony. who should recognize is those karma devatas. They have done it. So he got recognition from them. What they counted was not what he did in the world, but what he did within himself. In yoga, what you do within yourself is more important than what you do out in the world. But he had such a colorful life that he did a lot, super Herculean, superhuman things in the world outside which no mortal could do. No mortal could do in one life. What he did in the world, maybe 3 generation, 4 generation people will have to come together and then accomplish it. He did in one life. So he excelled there also. He excelled as a teacher all over the world. That's why he became the greatest teacher in the world, most recognized teacher in the world. As a scientist, he had great insights. And that's why many of the students got dazzled. But nobody bothered about what he did within himself. That was the most important thing. That has weighed greatest for what he might have attained after his departure from here, this world. So if you want to know what Guruji did, become students of yoga. Only if you have yogic sight, you will know what he might have done. He wanted them to be students of yoga rather than students of Iyengar. That's why he did not endorse with the concept or notion of Iyengar system. He was not for it. The world had conveniency in coining something as Iyengar yoga so that they can have identity in the world, and that's why the students, for this ulterior motives, called something as Iyengar yoga, put some framework for Iyengar yoga so that they get a kind of entity or distinction, because so many yogas have sprouted in the world. They wanted a status, and that's why students wanted to call as Iyengar yoga, something as Iyengar yoga, for which he never endorsed. He said there is nothing like a personal yoga, Iyengar yoga. Within yourself, you are not a person. It's a transpersonal world. We mortals never imagine something transpersonal. We know something at the most as personal life. What is our personal life? Which is something nobody should interfere. Nobody should dabble into it. Nobody should look into it. Why do you look into my personal life? Because we are not anything beyond personal. We have no life beyond personal life. We have it, but has gone unnoticed. Again, I repeat, the state of sleep. That's why it is one of the 3 states of consciousness: Jagrata, Sushupti, Swapna and Sushupti. And there is a 4th state called Turiya, that is the yogic state. In yogic state, you have similar state, but you are not disconscious as it happens in sleep. That's the difference. So we have a beyond personal life even in state of sleep, which we don't count at all. And that's why we do not see something as impersonal life or transpersonal life. But if you are in yoga, you will identify transpersonal life. And he was identifying that. He was having it every day of his practice sessions. That is why he was bubbling with energy throughout his life. Otherwise, he was putting up very hard work. If you put a lot of hard work, you know what happens to your energy. Despite the hard work, he never had a dissipated condition in energies. It was ever bubbling energy, electrified energy. Why is it? Because he was getting rejuvenated by touching the core of consciousness. So, well, there can be much said about his life. but not in matter of hours, just 1 hour, that too particularly with my ability. So I apologize for shortcomings in my abilities. I cannot be saying much more than this. But somewhere we have to recognize B.K. S. Iyengar beyond what he did in the world. At least his students should know what is it that he did beyond in the world. Thank you very much for your patience.
ಈ 1 ಗಂಟೆ ಕಾಲ ನಮ್ಮನ್ನ ಮಂತ್ರ ಮುದ್ರನಾಗಿ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ರು ಪ್ರಶಾಂತ್ ಅವರು. ತಮ್ಮ ಭಾಷಣದ ವೈಖರಿ ಹೇಗಿತ್ತು ಅಂದರೆ ಒಂದು ಸನ್ಮೋಹನಾಸ್ತ್ರ ಬಿಟ್ಟಂಗಿತ್ತು. ಯೋಗದ ಮೇಲೆ ಒಂದು ಬೆಳಕು ಚೆಲ್ಲಿದ್ರು. ಒಬ್ಬ ಯೋಗ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಯಾಗಿ ಜೀವನದಲ್ಲಿ ಸಾಗಿಸ್ಬೇಕು. ಉಪಾಧ್ಯಾಯ ಆದರೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಸಾಲದು. ಪ್ರತಿದಿನ ಅವನು ಅಭ್ಯಾಸ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಮಾತ್ರ ಅವನ ಜೀವನದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾದರೂ ಸಾಧನೆ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ವಿಷಯ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು, ನಮ್ಮ ಡಾಕ್ಟ್ರೇಟು ಅಥವಾ ಯಾವುದೇ ಡಿಗ್ರಿ ಬಂದು ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಸುಖ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಆದರೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಒಂದು ಅಭ್ಯಾಸದ ಒಂದು ಮಹತ್ವ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡಾಗ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಪ್ರಾಶಸ್ತ್ಯ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು. ಇಷ್ಟು ಅಮೋಘವಾದ ಭಾಷಣ ಮಾಡಿದ ಪ್ರಶಾಂತ್ ಜಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ BK S ದತ್ತಿ ಸಮಿತಿ ಮತ್ತು ಗೋಖಲೆ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಹಾರ್ದಿಕ ಅಭಿನಂದನೆ ಸಲ್ಲಿಸ್ತೀನಿ. ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಇಷ್ಟು ಜನ ಸೇರಿದ್ದೀರಾ, ಬಹಳ ಸಂತೋಷ. ನನಗೇ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಇಷ್ಟು ಜನ ಅಯ್ಯಂಗಾರ್ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಯಾರೇ ಅಂತ. ನಾನು ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಶನಿಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಬಂಡ್ರೆ ಏನರ ಯಾರು ಬರ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಇವತ್ತು ಗೊತ್ತಾಯಿತು ಅಯ್ಯಂಗಾರ್ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ಜನ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತ. ಆದರೆ ಮುಂದಿನ ದಿನದಲ್ಲಿ ನಡೆಯುವಂಥ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೂ ಬರಬೇಕು ನಾನು ಹೇಳೋದು. ಯಾವುದೋ ಇವತ್ತೊಂದೇ ಪ್ರಶಾಂತ್ ಜಿಯವ್ರು ಬಂದ್ರಿ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ನೋದ್ರ ಬದಲು ಗುರೂಜಿಯವ್ರ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಅಂದ್ಕೊಂಡು ಒಂದು ಬರುವಂತೂ ಆಗಬೇಕೆ ಹೊರತು ಪ್ರಶಾಂತ್ ಜಿ ಅಥವಾ ಗೀತಾಜಿ ಬಂದು ಇನ್ನೊಬ್ರು ಬಂದು ಆ ರೀತಿ ಆಗಬಾರ್ದು. ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಬ್ಬರು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಭಾಗವಹಿಸಿ ಒಂದು ಯಶಸ್ಸಿಗೆ ನಾವು ಕಾರಣೀಭೂತರಾಗಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಮಾತು ಮುಗಿಸ್ತೀನಿ. ಧನ್ಯವಾದ.